Welcome to Feeling Asian, a podcast where two Asians talk about their feelings. I'm Youngmi Mayer.
And I'm Brian Park.
Man, we got such a great episode for you this week because we had that relationship episode with Julia Shiplet and Mike Wynn.
Well, that was an old episode.
That was an old episode. No, I know. I'm not that stupid. No. Brian's like, get it together, Youngmi. Okay, we had that episode. It was very popular. So we have another one very similar with two new guests, friends of the pod that you love. And you already know who they are because it's on the title. But before we introduce them formally, what are we going to do, Brian?
We're going to do some Patreon shout outs.
Okay, what's Patreon? I don't know. I'm acting. What's Patreon? I don't know what that is.
Listeners, Youngmi and I, we talked about how we bought an Asa Akira fleshlight, and we are still in the hole.
We're in
financially. The hole.
We're in the hole. That's funny.
Oh god, that's the funniest thing I've ever said. Well, if you like the podcast, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/feelingasian, and it makes us really happy when you do that. And we try to make you really happy by giving you a fun shout out on the podcast.
Yeah, but we're at this moment, we've just made everyone really mad so far. So, but one day.
Let's continue to make people mad. Are you ready, Youngmi?
Yeah.
First shout out for this episode goes out to Melissa Stefan.
Melissa has no idea what an Asa Akira fleshlight is, and that is that's a happy place to be, I feel like.
Melissa, ignorance is bliss. Keep doing you. Next shout out goes out to Thomas Belfer. Thomas, you probably studied liberal arts at a liberal arts college. Humanities at a liberal arts college, and you taught English in Korea for 2 years after you graduated.
That's a mean shout out. That wasn't a complimentary one. Oh man, not Thomas, but the white guys that live in Asia for too long are weird. I'm just gonna
Thomas though.
Not he's the normal one.
Thomas has a great heart. That's why he did it.
I can tell.
I mean, duh, he's giving money to a Patreon.
Thank you, Thomas.
Next shout out goes out to James Fallisgard.
James taught English in Korea, but he was one of the creepy ones. And he had an inappropriate relationship with his college-age students.
Oh yeah. Wait, no. I don't agree with you on that. You're on your own on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Inappropriate meaning he gave them shoulder massages.
Oh god.
I'm just kidding.
James, I think you work for a non-profit and you compost on the weekends.
You sound like you know something about James, like you know he's like a millionaire or something. No. He's a great person. I love him. James.
It's all about yin and yang. I think you made him regret his Patreon donation, and I'm trying to bring him back.
Okay.
Our next shout out goes out to Kaylee.
Kaylee, is it spelled like KALEIGHFHTA?
No, it's KAELI.
Okay, so she's not white. Kaylee, I don't know. I know this is probably just like the name, but I'm getting like cheerleader vibes.
Yeah.
Cheerleader pipeline into working in finance vibes. Like she's an important business person and she wears stilettos.
And I'm
impressed by that.
And this is a mean shout out. And the last one for the episode goes out to Stephen Cow. Stephen lives in San Francisco, really into crypto and NFTs. That's my shout out for him.
That's a good one because that's Brian's dream. He just described what he wants to be.
There's nothing more that I want right now than to be an Art Basel fucking looking at NFTs.
You know what, Brian? You could do this. I believe in you. Anyway, those are our shout outs. If you like our podcast, please support us on Patreon because all those other people that we just shouted out left. They rescinded their donations.
And help me obtain my dream. I want to buy an NFT with this Patreon money.
Will you buy it? Will you share it?
Oh, we can't. I can't.
Okay.
It's non-fungible token. I literally can't share it with you.
Wow. Okay.
You heard it here first, listeners. Youngmi, I think it's time to introduce our wonderful guests.
Oh my god, I'm so excited.
Formally introduce.
Yeah, formally. So you've already seen their names on the on the thing when you clicked on the podcast, but we're doing another relationship dating / sex episode. And joining us this week to discuss are both of them are hilarious comedians. You know them because they've done our live show.
They've done the pod
and the podcast before. They have huge followings based in New York City. The hilarious former Google employee Jenny Arimoto.
Oh my gosh, hi. Thank you for having me.
And give it up for former diver Dylan Adler.
And dog walker, what's up?
Former diver. Is that something about you that I don't know, Dylan?
Yeah, well, at college I dove competitively for my school, but it was D3.
You did?
It was very chill.
What's D3?
It's Division 3. It's the lowest division possible.
Oh, well.
So, I mean, I
higher
dove
than I ever got diving.
yeah. But it was not that intense at all.
I have to say, Dylan, you have a swimmer's body. That makes sense. You do swimming, huh?
I did. I used to do, like, in high school. That was like my main thing. But then I stopped to do diving.
Nice.
That's so cool. Also, I'm a former swimmer as well.
Wait,
and we're also
Really?
from the Bay Area. We're actually
from the Bay
one
Area.
person.
Yeah, we're one person.
We're all related.
We're both just gay men,
Yeah.
but like
You can tell
yeah.
my
but-
sensibilities.
The only other diver I know is Tom Daly.
Oh yeah.
Is this offensive if I ask if there are a lot of gay men in diving?
It's the gayest sport, I think, other than ice skating.
Oh, okay.
Gymnastics is very straight, but diving at the school that I was at, everyone was gay on the team.
What?
Every
Whoa.
single man.
How does
on
that
the
Let's
team
happen?
was gay.
go.
I know, right?
Is it just like, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say anything
What,
weird and eugenics.
No, I just think it's like a very lyrical kind of like
Yeah.
floaty, artistic kind of like precision, kind of like neuroticism that I don't know, kind of gays will gravitate towards.
So that is a stereotype.
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay.
But Dylan is gay, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can say it.
Yeah.
You can say it. I'm not going to say I didn't say it. Brian said it.
Well, I said it.
yeah.
I said it.
Okay, well, I was going to joke more about that, but we should get going. We should have a lot of questions.
Yes. So,
and
listeners, we asked you what your questions were for us, and we were overwhelmed with so many thoughtful and insightful responses.
Yeah.
So we, unfortunately, we're limited in time, so we couldn't get to all of your questions.
But we're going to get to five, and I'm just going to name them up top really quick, and I'm going to read you some comments, and then we're just going to go around and discuss all of them in no particular order, just chaotic, giving Brian anxiety because he likes, order and I don't. But okay, so here are the topics. Once again, we got a lot of questions about interracial dating. So that's one of the topics, interracial dating. The second topic is Asians dating Asians in all sorts of different forms. The third is dating as an Asian man / dating Asian men, which I think all of us have done in one way or the other.
Okay.
And then the fourth one is coming out during the pandemic.
Copy that.
And the last one is Asian physical features, which has been
interesting.
It's a hot button topic, and we're all just gonna get canceled today, so
Okay.
relax. Your careers are over after
It's
this,
about time.
right?
Honestly, I was stressed about it. This is a blessing.
No, this is
Okay.
actually
Now we're
a good
free.
thing.
We can
Finally.
go after this. We can just be
Fuck. Let's
conservative.
go for a walk.
Yeah.
I love Joe Rogan. Just
Finally, I can say it. I
Finally I
love
can
Joe
say it.
Rogan.
he's so pretty. No, I don't know. But yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna touch on the first topic. So last time we also touched on the interracial dating because we got so many questions about it, and once again, so many questions about it. I think last time we sort of focused on white people and Asian people dating white people because as this time the bulk of the questions deal with that, but we do get questions about dating other cultures and other races. And I guess should I just read the comment first and then we can just bounce off there, or should
Let's
we just
do it.
Okay,
Let's
so
do it.
the comment that I chose, the question that I chose is, I'm going to keep everybody anonymous. She says, "Hi, this is actually more of a relationship with your parents question than a dating question, because I'm a Korean woman dating a black man with marriage in mind for some time in the future, and my parents are threatening to cut ties with me if I do marry him.
Whoa.
How do I change my parents' mind into agreeing to the marriage?" That's the question. And I just want to say, you know, like last time, my favorite advice was don't talk to your parents. Just never see them again. I mean, obviously that's not realistic. So that's like obviously extremely, you know, emotional question.
Youngmi, you, out of us four, you were once married.
Yes.
So I think, why don't you go first as the one with marriage experience?
Okay. Here's what I think. I think this is very tricky. And I know last time I was like very much like, I'm okay with cutting my parents off, right? Like, because I think last time how we discussed this topic was if you are dating a white person and their parents are racist, then I'd be like, you have to cut off your racist white parents. I don't give a shit. You know, like you are my partner. And in this is almost like flipped. I think this is the same thing. If this was me, if I was this woman, I'm talking about myself here. I'm not trying to give this person advice. I would personally not talk to my parents if they couldn't get on board with something that essential to my core beliefs, like being anti-racist. Like I feel like that's such a core belief to me that if that's like something that's crossing the line for me, where I'm like, I can't talk to my parents because this is too important to me. And it reminds me of the therapy episode we had with the Asian therapist, where he said, somebody asked about that topic of like cutting off your parents, and the Asian person asked the question like, the therapist is Dr. Peter Adams. Yeah, sorry, I love you. And he said, oh, like instead of saying there is no way that I'm going to cut my parents off, you just list in your head what the things would be that would make you cut your parents off. You draw your boundaries before you get there. And so for me personally, that would be a boundary that would unfortunately be if my parents crossed that, I couldn't deal with it.
But it sounds like this person wants to preserve a relationship with their parents from the verbiage of the question. I
mean, I'm guessing obviously everybody does, right? Even
right.
if they,
I think there's just no surefire way, obviously, to like convince anyone of anything. But I agree. I think you have to just draw your own boundary and decide like what is priority to you. I do think that, and granted, I don't know the context of this person's parents. Watching my parents in the past like 10 years, they've changed like immensely, though it's been slow, like socially. In terms of like being much more understanding of like racial dynamics and also like LGBTQIA like topics. Like it's obviously the world is just becoming more aware of it, but I will give my parents credit. They are also trying and they are learning, though they say things that are problematic sometimes. I think they are changing, and part of it's just like continually trying to engage on those topics. And so I don't think you have to cut them out immediately. Like you can kind of give them a chance to learn, but I think at a certain point you have to decide what your boundary is. And if you're going to marry this person that you want to get married to and they're not okay with that, then that's a boundary.
Yeah, I think ultimately this person is very in love with their partner, and it comes down to at what expense are they going to sacrifice their own love for their partner. And it's ultimately in the parents' control. It's there. It's all up to them and their willingness to to be decent people. And, I mean, also I was thinking about this, and what you were also saying, my grandparents told my mom, I remember my mom told me this, that she was allowed to date white people and Asian people, and that was it. That's what they told her. And my cousin is now dating, their partner is black. And I think now, like, my grandparents are so much older, they're accepting and they've come around. But also it's like such a, I know like anti-blackness is such a huge, it's like can't be ignored that there's a history of that in the Asian community. But I also do feel like it's fully like they can do what they can in their control, but ultimately it's up to the parents to like to come around. And if they don't come around, then I don't know. That's just what my guts are.
I agree with your gut.
Yeah.
Like you're not. It's on the parents to come to their own conclusions and realize and
Yeah.
come to that, like realize
Mhm.
their wrongdoings or how their perception might be harmful. But I don't
Yeah.
think you'll be able to change them.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be like, I'm not gonna be able to change
So
you.
then it becomes an
Yeah.
And I'm like,
evaluation
peace.
of how
Peace
much
out.
am I willing to compromise for love.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying though. If like my parents are like, no, then I'll be like, okay, bye. Like I don't have time for that.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I also realized I was like, I'm gonna cut my parents off if they said that. But then I realized the message said her parents are threatening to cut her.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah.
But I get it though, because my relationship with my parents is very valuable, and so if they threaten to cut me off, that would definitely make me like, it would impact my relationship for sure.
Mhm.
Because I want my parents to have a dynamic or a
In your
relationship with my partner in my life. Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they wouldn't say something like that, but
Mhm.
another, I was gonna, yeah. It's so complicated. Also, I just want to know, and I understand that people might disagree with me listening to this. I personally think it's very different hearing, like, this is like weird. I think it's very different when a white people are racist toward people than other people of color, because I feel like there's like, I don't know, it's like coming from a different sort of place. Obviously, it's the same. The overall effect is still horrible, but
yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like there is a little bit more understanding when it comes to groups that are, other like people of color, where
Yes,
there's like,
yes.
where it's like
Yeah.
a white person's straight up just like, oh my God, you can't be racist,
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Off to a uncomfortable start. Should we move on to the next? Do you have anything else you want to say about this topic of
Mm.
race? And I guess this is like what the person said. It's like a parents thing. Anything else?
I think they're pretty much.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
so,
that's so I mean,
hard.
that's so difficult, and my heart goes out to that
Yeah,
person.
and I know that like
Yeah.
you want your parents to love you enough to see around it, but like I understand that some people literally can't.
Yeah.
And it is just
Yeah.
not within your control, and as long as you don't feel like you need to fight for that thing or like push for it,
Yeah.
like you just have to know that what you can do is what you can do, and then you have to live your life.
Yeah.
Can I just say something that I remembered? I can't believe I forgot this. My childhood friend, one of my best friends when I was a kid, I saw her years later, and she secretly married her boyfriend who was black. She's Korean, and she never told her parents. And this was
Wow.
like 5 years ago. I don't know if
Yeah.
she's still married,
Yeah.
but she was like, no, she had literally no plan on telling them that they
Oh,
got married
wow.
secretly.
Right.
So the
So-
parents just don't know.
They just
They
have
just
no
don't
idea.
know.
And they also live in Korea.
Got it.
Okay.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's, I don't know, like, I guess that's something you could do. I'm not
Sure.
recommending it,
Yeah.
but this is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just bummed. That bums me out.
I know, huh?
And I feel bad
What's
for
wrong
the
with
parents.
Koreans?
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with
Koreans. God
Hey,
damn
also
it.
Japanese
Yeah.
people too.
What the
Yeah,
fuck
we
is
got it
wrong
wrong.
with
What the
us?
fuck is wrong with Koreans?
we're
What
fucked
the
too.
fuck?
Cancel.
Oh my God, it's 2 Koreans and 2 Japanese people, by the way.
We kept you on that side.
What the fuck?
Very charged episode.
Oh, you know what? Okay,
What?
speaking of Japanese against Koreans,
Yeah.
next
Oh my God.
next
All right.
topic,
Okay.
Asians
Oh.
dating Asians.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is
Okay,
kind of
yeah.
similar to the interracial because it's more like intercultural.
Yeah.
So the two messages I got that I wanted to talk about were, number one, somebody asked, should Asian people feel weird about dating only Asian people? And then the second comment that I thought was very interesting, it would be really incredible to discuss relationships between US born Asian Americans and people from Asia, especially interethnic relationships. I feel there's still a lot of stigma, and it would be good to hear both sides of what dating is like, parentheses, commonalities, and culture gaps.
Okay, so let's tackle the first one.
Yeah.
Is it weird to only date Asians?
Is there anyone in here that only dates Asians?
No.
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 No. I don't think it's weird though.
I don't think
Me
it's
neither.
Yeah.
I don't think it's weird because naturally, like on paper, you are going to have shared, like there's a common universal cultural experience that
Yeah.
comes with being like with another Asian person. You're
Yeah.
gonna have like
Yeah.
there's like more overlap there in how you were raised, but I think it's only weird if it comes like if you examine why I'm dating this person and if it's. But that's the thing. If you're like the type of person who exclusively only dates Asian people and it's like for a weird reason, I don't think you're gonna have the self-awareness to understand that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you're only dating Asian people because you really want your parents' approval and they really drilled it into you that you gotta marry Asian.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would fall into the umbrella category of being kind of weird. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if that's weird itself too. Because if this to that person, I'm just like spiraling here.
No, I think
But, you know?
it's. I know what you're saying. I feel like it's only weird if you think it's weird. Does that make sense? Like, I
If you're
understand
being
the
weird
ease-
about it, then
yeah,
it's
like
weird.
just don't be weird about it.
Yeah.
Just like date Asians.
Don't be weird.
I feel like there is an ease in culture, so I understand that.
Yeah.
And then there obviously you have to examine your own reasons. If it is because you think you should only date Asian, then maybe that's a thing to think about. But I
Right.
don't think it's inherently weird.
Like white people only date white people
Yes,
all the time, and it's
as
not weird.
It's just white people dating white
Yes.
people, and also I do feel like with that, like maybe it's like Asians who grew up in very insular Asian communities. So who's around them? It's like other Asians.
Yeah.
So where are they gonna find? I don't know.
Yeah,
I didn't grow
literally
up in an
anyone else.
insular Asian community, so.
I think, kind of like what Brian was saying, I think it depends on the situation, and there's a very large range of it being weird, because there are people, like Brian was saying, if you're doing it just to make your parents happy and you want to date other people and you're not, that's not good.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
yeah.
the insular thing, Dylan, like a lot of people when they immigrate to America, their parents will put them in those communities. Like if you're Vietnamese, you only see other Vietnamese people, and then
Right.
obviously you're gonna end up dating just Vietnamese people or whatever, and like that could happen, and that's definitely not weird. That's just your neighborhood.
Yeah.
But the white person dating thing, I think is interesting because we talk about this statistic a lot, but they did this test about people that live in America, and like other people have a lot of more diverse friends, but white people don't. Like they're the one group that only sticks to each other, even in relationships,
Yeah.
much more than other groups. So it's like, yeah, I mean that's saying something too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like such a big range. And also, to be honest, like maybe some people will even make it kind of racist and weird and be like, I only date Asians because Asian pride. But also that sort of feels like a reclaiming or
Sure,
something,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even
I
think.
think, in my opinion, like an Asian being like, yeah, I love dating Asians is better than like I only fuck with white people. That feels a little more like
Yeah.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So our answer is we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
weird if you make it weird.
Yeah.
Is
Weird
what
if
I'm
you
saying. Yeah, because this goes back to
Don't
Yoe's
make it weird.
episode on Invisibilia.
Uh-huh.
Like if at any point it becomes a dehumanized experience is when it becomes
that's
weird.
it. That's it.
Because like I feel like now amongst a lot of Asian Americans, maybe previously we had not dated other Asians, and I have a few friends in my circle who are making a concerted point to be like, I'm gonna try to date more Asian.
Yeah.
But then when it becomes like a spreadsheet almost, where you're like,
Oh,
from
yeah,
this
yeah.
point forward, I'm only gonna match with Asians on date. But I don't know. That's the thing though. It's like
Yeah.
it just feels weird, but
Sure.
maybe it isn't because you do have to put the extra effort to make those things happen. Because we live in America, and more likely than not, you're gonna like subconsciously maybe just match with white people. So it takes an extra effort, which
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
it feel awkward.
I just feel like
Sure.
any hard and fast rule always
Mm.
makes me feel weird in general. Like with anything,
Okay.
it's like I'm only gonna date Asian people from now on who are this height and this vibe or
Mhm.
whatever, this job. I feel like I'm always kind of like that feels borderline a little bit weird, but that's because you're prescribing that to yourself.
Sure. But also drawing off of what you were saying about making a little concerted effort, I was feeling like 8 months ago, I was feeling like that, but not with relationships, but with friendships, kind of like a little more of an effort to like make, closer and deep connection bonds with other Asian people. And, there are some times where there's some people, it's like, oh, like, it's like the connection, maybe it's just like different personalities or something. But I do feel like out of that effort, I was able to find like a really incredible group of like
Asian.
queer Asians that I feel incredibly close to. So that effort didn't go to waste. So
Yeah, I feel like you've talked about that, Dylan,
Yeah.
and other Asian people. Maybe Jenny even talked about this.
I did.
Like that during, even especially during the pandemic,
Yeah.
Asian people were seeking out other Asian
Yes.
people to
Yeah.
become
Mhm.
friends with,
yeah.
and maybe some people, took that into the relationship arena
Yeah.
because there was this feeling of like
Yeah.
we're going through this something together. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Or
that's
even,
interesting.
Like realizing like there's a dynamic with my my relationships with white people, friendship or relationship wise.
Yeah.
I remember you were talking about that in your episode.
Yeah.
Wanting to like take up more space, and that's kind of how I felt. Not just relationship,
Right.
like
Yeah.
my friendships.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
Right.
That's a good point. Let's move on to the second part of this
Yeah.
topic. The Asian group dating, US born Asians dating Asians, and also Asians dating other Asian ethnicities that are out of your group. I want to start up by saying, very similar to the first question, the interracial and like quote unquote like races that Asian people are not happy with you dating. I feel like for Koreans, this is just my personal experience. Obviously, I'm not talking about all Koreans. Living in and growing up in Korea, other Asian people were seen as like the worst people you could date. I feel like in my family, like they were like
Oh.
so
Yeah.
racist against other Asians.
Mm.
And obviously, again, not every Asian, but like that was like a huge taboo.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's been something that I think a lot of people that live in Asia, Asian people in Asia, when they come to the States, they're like, oh my God, like you don't know the difference between me
Yeah.
and like Chinese people. And like they get
Mm.
really like taken aback because they're so shocked that it's not a big thing here.
Mm.
And so I think my personal experience is that in Asia, to date between Asian races is, I think, very looked down upon. And then I guess my other experience that I've seen is that I don't see a lot of Asian Americans dating Asians that I know of, but maybe that's just like what I've seen.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna talk about I'm like, is my family listening? I don't know. So my dad is like a Japanese American, so he's like third generation. So I'm technically
Yeah.
third generation. My mom is from Japan, so
Right.
I kind of see like both perspectives, and I would agree that there is almost more hostility towards other Asians than there are other races, if that makes sense. Like there's way more
see it.
racism towards like non-Japanese, like almost stereotypes
Yeah.
come much quicker because my mom grew up in Japan. Like she's like, we're not the same as, these other Asians. And so
Oh.
I do think there is some weird inter-Asian racism that my dad doesn't necessarily have the same mentality because he like grew up in America. And so it's interesting seeing that. And I would also agree. I went to Berkeley, so I was surrounded by Asian people.
Right.
I think Mike,
not to brag.
not to brag, but Mike, I think was talking about that the last episode where he was like, yeah, in Berkeley you don't have a choice, you date Asian people because it's only Asian people. And there is for sure a separation between like Asian and then Asian American.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
for
I felt
sure.
that at my college
Yeah.
too, for sure.
Yeah.
They
I think,
don't like.
No.
I think there is a separation. I think as an Asian born, like I'm American born Asian,
Mm-hmm.
when you date another Asian person from Asia, it's like interracial dating a little bit because the
really?
cultural
Yes.
specificities are so different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my theory is that it's a pairing that you don't see as often because we look alike. We assume that there is going to be a shared commonality and like you're gonna have like a shared cultural like experience and upbringing, but that's often not the case. So there's this disjunction that happens, and maybe we don't have as much forgiveness for that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Than if someone who looked entirely different from you.
Mm-hmm.
So like our approach, like the expectation is different even going into it.
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have less patience for it or something
Right.
if they don't understand something. Also, I think that there is like animosity between the two groups. Just something I picked up in it. Obviously, I wonder what that is. It just seemed.
I know. I remember.
Yeah.
At even like, my school, or like there are like Asians who are like born in America, like would like problematically kind of view some of the people who like were international students as like FAB and like
Yeah.
you know like be like, oh, I'm not that, I know you know, like
Yeah.
there's kind of like
Yeah.
that attitude. And yeah, it's like it does feel like there is a, maybe it's like an internalized thing of like, I don't want to be seen as like completely othered like that. No, I'm like American.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And even vice versa, I feel like Asians from Asia are like, ew, like look at them, they're so like, why they like, I think Brian and I always talk about this when we go to Korea. They're like, I can tell you live in America because of how you walk. You eat like
And
a
you're
weird
so
fucking weirdo.
unstylish. What
Yeah,
are those
what are you
running
wearing?
shoes?
What are you wearing?
On a
Also,
date?
a lot of the international students at my school were like rich as hell, like
Yeah.
princes.
They're
in,
like, you're so poor. You grew up in
Yes.
Um,
our friend
yeah.
group made a joke like like the people, they could buy my whole like family, they could buy my whole family.
The joke ends there. Yeah.
You
Joke
call,
ends
yeah,
there,
that's it.
period.
That's not even a joke. That was just a fact.
Yeah,
Just a fact. Just a fact.
Has anyone in here, because you know we're all, I guess, I mean, I was born in Korea, but I'm very Americanized. Has anyone in here dated an Asian person from Asia?
I did, but he went to like American school
Mm.
in Beijing, and so I think he's part of the very wealthy group, and so I don't know if that's exactly the same because all of his friends were like international,
Right.
like they weren't just Asian people from China. Like if they were just like his friend group was very diverse, and I feel like pop culturally he was also like culturally everything was very American. So I don't know if it counts. I will say the only difference was like random little things that we talked about growing up was very different because he was in China, but like otherwise pretty American, so I don't know if that counts.
Right.
Yeah. I've gone on dates with Asian women from Asia specifically.
Really?
Yeah. I've gone
How
on a few
did it go?
dates. They didn't like progress past like 1 or 2 dates in my experience.
Was there like some sort of cultural misalignment thing that you felt, or it was just like no chemistry or something?
It was more a chemistry thing,
Mm.
but for me personally, like comedy is really important in my life, and a lot of that is like comedy's conveyed through a lot of pop culture references and like
Right.
American specificities. So I just felt like I wasn't I wasn't able to be entirely myself at times because there would just be like misunderstandings.
Yeah.
Were these people Korean?
Yeah.
Did you speak to them in Korean?
Konglish, a mix. So like some Korean, like that was nice, like because I had never done that before on a date. Yeah, like to be able to speak to someone in Korean in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. But
I've
it
dated
was a
a
chemistry
Korean
thing.
person from Korea because I used to live in Korea, duh.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like I had a serious relationship,
Yeah.
yeah.
and it was just kind of normal. Well, I'm also fluent in Korean, which I think is a big thing because like
Totally.
obviously he didn't speak English,
right.
but like at times he would just be like, God, he would say stuff like, "You're such a fucking like 미친년 because you're American, like you're thinking like a fucking like just."
It was similar. They kept saying I was so loud, like you're so like
Wow.
not in a bad way,
Yeah,
but they're just
yeah.
like I had never met this kind of energy before. Is what they're saying, like kind of like brash and irreverent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like Ethel Merman.
Yeah.
Big Ethel Merman energy, Brian Hart.
Merman energy from Brian.
For sure that
okay.
vibe.
Anything else about that topic before we move on?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, case closed. There's nothing
Yeah,
more
I
to
think
talk
we
about.
figured it out.
We figured it out.
What's wrong with the Koreans
solves
again? It's all
everything.
Korean.
Freaking Koreans.
Done. We solved it again. We solved. Check.
Asians
Next
are
question.
racist.
Okay, this topic I'm really excited about because we got our first ever message from a real life Asian fuckboy, which was
Yes, we exist.
Representation.
Representation
is
matters.
this am I making this up, or is this like an actual very popular stereotype of the Asian fuckboy?
Yeah,
like,
Kevin Wen.
like that,
Kevin
right?
Wen.
That's a
Yeah.
Kevin Wen's.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There for sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
I think Brian earlier was saying fuckboys are everywhere, but
Yeah.
we did get we got the there was a rambly jambly message, I call it, from this fuckboy, and I was like, he was like, he was like, why did chicks keep leaving their bras
Oh my
at
God,
my
I'm
place
hard.
for other chicks to see? That's what his message. And it was like really long, and there were lots of emojis. There was like If that was an emoji, he threw that in there. And then he was saying like, he literally said, I am like, what's it called when you're trying to do something? Like, I'm aspiring fuckboy. And he was talking about his fuckboy roommate. And then he was like, does everyone like use protection? I want to, just like this rambly jambly. And I was like, sir, thank you for this beautiful message. Also DM me. But then we also got a bunch of messages from cishet Asian women who were talking about cishet Asian men that they were dating who had all these fuckboy characteristics. And I was like, oh, is like the Asian fuckboy a thing? Is that a real thing? Or is it just fuckboys are a thing for every culture? And there are a lot of like Asian women that are dealing with this, right?
Yeah.
And then I got this one message that I'm going to read really quick. It said, how different attachment styles affect us and how a short toxic relationship can fuck us up more than a less toxic longer relationship. Example, anxious attachment to avoidant. How being raised in an Asian household might predispose attachment styles to be less secure, and how that manifests not just in dating context but also interpersonally and at work. And how I read that was, this might be me interpreting this like this, but is there, or I guess the question I want to ask is like, is there like a predisposition that Asian men might have due to their culture that might lead them to act out in these like fuckboy avoidant attachment styles? That's how I read that. Might be just me.
Yeah, I mean, like, just speaking off of my interactions with Asian fuckboys and some Asian bros, I feel like there is an element of like overall Asian difficulty getting in touch with emotion and accessing just in general. And I've had to like kind of even like do work to like get back in touch with my own emotions too but I also think there's like a toxic masculinity element on top of that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just like not about being Asian.
Yeah.
And so you're saying you've struggled with those like things that you thought you had to work on in yourself?
Yeah, or just like feeling when I was in the closet, I felt like really detached and like I didn't want to like speak, or like I kind of felt like I like the facade I wanted to put on was like that one of an Asian, but that's like its own like element to being in the closet too. But I do feel like there is like an added element of like, I feel like there's some cultures where you're taught to be like you're just fighting, maybe like Italian culture more is like, you just speak what you say, you think. I don't know, don't cancel me, but like
the Italians are gonna cancel. The Italians are gonna be like, how dare you?
Italian fans defend my ass right now. But I think that Dylan Palladino, I think that there's like an added toxic masculinity element
for sure.
Yeah.
I talked about this when we first started doing the podcast together, which was around 2 years ago. Yeah, I was a fucking fuckboy. Then it was rooted in a lot of toxic masculinity.
And like, just being a man, I guess. Or do you think this is the question, and I don't want to push this on to our cultures because I don't think that's fair. But like, do you think being Asian and your childhood and upbringing had anything to do with those sort of behaviors? Like just personally, just for you, Brian Park.
So the fuckboy thing for sure. That was, as a man, like we're taught, like, as a man, we are influenced in society to act a certain way or have like quote unquote conquests. But, but on top of that, it's emphasized even more as an Asian guy because everyone says like you're unfuckable and you're not sexy. So I'm like, oh yeah, so I'm not fuckable. Well, like, fuck you. Let me go. I'm going to go out there and prove it to you all.
Right.
It's like a different flavor of fuckboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay. So that's like that layer of like that racist idea that Asian men are like not masculine. Do you think adds on top of the regular like toxic masculinity that everyone else has?
Yeah, I think so.
That's a good point. I could see that.
But then in terms of attachment styles, this isn't specific to masculinity, but yeah, I think that's what I still navigate in my relationship today is there's a difference in I'm code switching as like being quote unquote very Asian at home to appease my parents and their worldview, and then I code switch in American society and my other relationships with my friends or my lovers, and there's like a lot of wires cross there. So you know, at home, and one thing that's become more apparent to me is like when I'm at home and you know I was there for Thanksgiving. I have this tendency to assume that what my parents are saying is like very critical, but that's how like my parents justify it as a love language.
Yes.
Like, well, if I didn't care about you,
Right.
I wouldn't give you this feedback, or only your family is going to care about you to this extent where we are being critical of you in this way. And then so I carry that with me, and so in my regular day-to-day relationships, someone can just ask me a question and then I'll assume that I'm like in trouble, or I'll assume that I'm like, what did I do wrong? And that's something that I need to work on because I have like an anxiety built in around that.
That sounds like a very Asian experience. No, really, but like,
Am I the only one who experiences this? I don't know.
No,
that's
we all do.
100%.
That's why
Yeah.
I feel like that too.
I think that like, okay, I'm really bad at understanding attachment styles, but in terms of love language things, I feel myself totally having the same thing, which is when you're with the way you were raised, it is like you are very like critical because they love you, but everything is kind of shown through like acts of service. Like, I'm gonna cook you this thing or whatever, but then you go into the world where you're like with a bunch of people who are not Asian or raised with the same values, and then the way you show love is so different, or like the expectation is different of what love is.
Right.
And I think everyone, fuckboy or not, has to like navigate that. But going back to the fuckboy thing, I do think there is a proving yourself vibe. I'm not saying
I'm a fuckboy and I have to prove I'm actually a fuckboy too.
Yep. Like, it's like, I'm like, because of all the stereotypes, there is a vibe sometimes where it's like, well, I actually don't like, I'm down for whatever. Like, I don't like need to be attached to anything kind of.
So all the straight Asian fuckboys, you exist.
You exist
You
and
are
You're valid.
valid.
Your experience is valid.
And also to all the aspiring Asian fuckboys, real fuckboys move in silence. Right? You don't need nothing to prove out there. You're in your bed in Bushwick, and someone is taking the L train to you.
Let me tell you about my experience with fuckboys. The people like I have so much experience with fuckboys. The people that fuck the most. Literally, I would have never fucking guessed that there was anyone else there fucking. They were like fucking like 3-4 people a night after I went home. Would have never guessed.
No.
Would have thought that. I thought we were getting married.
Yes.
He said we had a future together. You know, that's a
real
true
fuckboys are like the nicest, like accommodating. Like, you don't see it. It's
Psycho
under the
level.
water.
Psycho
They are
manipulation
Neville
levels.
Longbottom.
Touching your hair like
Neville Longbottom
Yeah.
energy.
No.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You don't
you're
know.
the one. I think they're telling you that you're the one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Neville got it so much at Hogwarts.
Neville is
Neville's Asian.
And then I guess like the other thing, dating as so I guess dating as an Asian man, just be a fucking fuckboy. Don't lie to people though. Come on.
Don't lie.
Use protection, man. You know who you are that messaged me. And don't use protection. Don't lie to people.
Clean
Just
your
be
room.
honest.
Yeah.
You
Just
know
be
you left that
honest.
bra out there on purpose to hurt some feelings.
Oh yeah, who was that?
I'm the
That
guy
was
who
me.
messaged you.
No, he said another girl did that. A girl left it to make sure that the other girls would see. That's what he was saying.
But bras are so
Oh.
expensive.
I
would
know.
literally never leave that.
Bitch, if I
that
found someone
international
else's
student?
bra and this fuckboy was like, "Hey, is this yours?" I'd be like, "Yes,
Maybe. Yeah.
it is. What
It's
is
a free
this
bra.
Fleur du
It's
Mal?
free.
Yes, it is, bitch.
Yes.
Yes, it is."
love
Did I
that.
tell you this one time I went to this guy's house and his like somebody, I don't know who, ex-girlfriend or maybe someone he was having sex with had like a Celine purse. I was like, "Oh, you mean our Celine purse? I'm gonna borrow this on the weekend.
Yes.
You'll get this when you get it."
It's like a lost and found bin in his apartment. It's like,
Well,
just like kind of
bitch,
take
I
one.
did see it, and I don't care. You can have him. Can I have your purse? All right. Anything else to say? Should we move on?
Nothing.
Nothing.
We solved
We've
it.
said it
We
all.
solved
Yeah.
it. We solved
We
it.
keep solving the
Asian
problem.
straights, you're hot.
We did it.
Okay,
We did it.
move on.
Fuck boys. Yes. Okay. Number 4. Okay. This was a big topic last time. We got so many comments about this, but we couldn't get to it because we ran out of time last time. Coming out during the pandemic, specifically, we had multiple messages from cishet Asian women coming out, I guess not het, cis Asian women coming out and saying that they were either bisexual or gay, and they were too afraid to go to look into it. We had one message about a woman that was like, she was like, I think she even said, I am a lesbian, or maybe bisexual, but I feel like I'm a lesbian, and I'm too scared to like date with women.
I'm gonna say she's a lesbian.
You're a lesbian. And then other people who are like, I came out as bisexual. One message from a woman that was in a relationship, a heterosexual relationship, and her partner agreed to open up the relationship, or she wanted to ask him to open up the relationship with other women. This is a huge issue, and I think that coming out during the pandemic was a huge issue for everybody.
Yes.
100%.
But the added layer for Asian people, I'm just going to read this comment really quick before we start to talk about, is the parents thing again.
Yeah.
Because I think for, obviously a lot of old people are homophobic, unfortunately, but for Asians, it's like the first question, like we still want to keep them in our lives, right?
Yeah.
So the comment we got about this was, my parents are immigrants from Korea. Again, the Koreans!
God.
Fucking racist
These
Koreans!
More Japanese
Yes.
homophobic
Yeah.
representation too.
How dare they?
This is actually the Japanese. When they colonized us, they
you
imbued
scattered
those
your,
values.
homophobic
To our
values on us.
They imbued those values.
We were just having butt sex and you came in and ruined everything.
Yeah.
My bad.
I like this deflection. Okay. My parents are immigrants from Korea and are low-key homophobic.
Low-key.
Low-key, a little
Like
bit. Just a touch.
high-key.
Yeah.
Are you sure they're Korean? They pretend to be understanding and say that love is love, but not when it comes to their own offspring. It is very conditional.
Heard that.
It's total bullshit, and I
Yeah.
don't know how to deal. Hearing it on the podcast would be cool things. I think this person is saying that maybe they are on the LGBTQIA spectrum, and so they're experiencing that with their parents to them, their child, even though outwardly they're like, love is love.
Sure.
What do you think about all this coming out during the pandemic? Parents being homophobic. What do you think?
Yeah, everyone looks to the gay. I love but
Ask
I
the
mean,
gay.
like thinking about that experience, I also, I feel pretty fortunate that my parents, I came out to them in high school. I also have a gay twin brother, and they were pretty accepting, honestly, and I feel fortunate for that. But even still, it was like hard because internalized homophobia and everything. But I do feel like when it comes to, if you know that your parents are, it comes down to how much are you, being in the closet sucks. It just sucks. And hiding a part of yourself from other people and friends, it is, you don't realize it until after you do it, but it is so much energy to hide yourself. And I think it's like a conversation with yourself, like, ultimately it's in their control. It's your decision how much you're willing to, like, I don't know if the word is sacrifice, but also I also am going to say that the fact that they are outwardly like love is love, it's not a bad sign.
Yeah.
And there might be room for growth. And I know a lot of my friends with Asian parents have come out, and it was difficult for a while, but then eventually they came around, and now they're like sending their daughter Drag Race quotes, and now they're like, actually stop, this is too much. But it's my heart really goes out because it's a scary thing to do, in a bargain it's a real like heart to heart you have to have with yourself. I think.
Yeah.
Is this a phenomena? Like people coming out during the pandemic?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge. We got a
Oh.
bunch of
Yeah.
messages about it.
I'm
Why?
surrounded by people who came out.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Well, probably just like sitting at home thinking about your,
Yeah.
hot stuff. Getting all
like,
horny.
No.
And it's like the world could end literally any moment.
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
why even live
like,
a lie
why
anymore?
stop? Why hold in? any
Exactly.
secrets?
I think, this might be another sort of like racist sort of stereotype or belief that I have.
Well, now that you prefaced
That-
it, it's okay to say now.
Now I can say it. I'm Korean.
Can't cancel her.
I feel like this. I actually disagree with this, but I already disagree with what I'm about to say. But I think there are a lot of Asian closeted people.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more than other cultures because the culture
Yeah.
is so homophobic. I know a bunch that live in Korea.
Yeah.
Maybe less in like America, but in Korea, like my mom says all the time, she's like, well, there are, I know gay people aren't real because there's no gay people in Korea. Like she says things like that, and she's like, it's just like a trend that Americans invented, which
Whoa.
is funny.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, kind of sad. I don't
Damn.
know.
The
But
real hoax. No, just I mean
masks work. It's though actually
Yeah.
gay people aren't real.
Yes,
My
yes.
mom. That's my mom.
But
I don't do. Maybe we. This is just throwing this out there. Are we being too hard on our parents? Like we won't know, and you'll never know until you
Yeah.
sit them down and have a
Yes.
conversation
Yes.
about the
Also-
hard, difficult thing that you're grappling with.
Also, I want to say there
That's
is a
true.
big element. Even when I came out, there's like a sense of like, I was like, oh my god, they're not gonna accept me. That's what I was afraid of. They're actually not.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yeah, they're liberal, but like their own son being gay, that's a whole other thing. But they were, and also me and my twin brother came out to our Japanese grandparents, who we were like, do they even know what gay is?
Yeah.
Like, and my mom ended up doing it, and she ended up actually being like, you know, that it's like this generation, and yeah, she actually like mentioned like that she
Wow.
loved us, and my mom was even like, the fuck? She's never said that in her life. I mean, like, there is a sense
Your mom's
of,
like, I'm also gay.
yeah.
Do you love me?
Hey,
Do you love me?
just kidding. Just wanted to hear you say that.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
there is a sense of like, you know, your internalized homophobia doesn't come from nowhere, but it's also its own shield, and
Yes.
you might surprise yourself with how far people can come, and the fact that your parents are even like, if it's shitty that it's like, you know, performative, that they're like, love is love, it kind of signals to me that that it's better than other parents that I've
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
know, honestly.
So you're saying that for you, it was like, part of it was, yes, maybe your parents would be upset, but it was
Yeah.
like part of it was your internalized homophobia against
Exactly.
yourself.
Against myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, they voted for Obama, and like, well,
Yeah.
like, they've said their homophobic things in the past too.
My parents
Yeah.
too.
But
Right.
also, once my mom was like, Clay Aiken, more like gay Aiken. And I was like,
you were-
what?
When you were like 12, you
okay.
were like,
We were like, okay, I'm going to
in the
remember that. I'm going to remember that, Yoshiko.
but I like Brian's point too. I think that like relates to what you said. You don't know until you talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
But
scary.
I
'Cause
wonder if this
it-
person talked to them. I can't piece it
Yeah.
together.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just coming at it. It's such a trope in Asian culture of like dutiful Asian daughter, dutiful Asian son.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I believe that love goes in it's bi-directional. Like,
Yes.
like parents
It's
are.
bi.
Yeah.
Love
Yes,
is bi.
love is bi.
Wow.
And,
Love is bi.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do recommend coming out to a close circle of friends first, so you have a solid like
Yeah.
foundation of like, these people have my back, and I know that they're in my corner no matter what.
Yeah.
Just so it's like a little less scary, because the parents, that was like the scariest
Yeah.
one for me.
Yeah.
But
That's
you
great
know,
advice.
Yeah.
What do
I
you-
really
yeah.
recommend that.
What do you? One last, I guess, thing about this. What do you think about the people that are afraid to take the next step because they were like, I think I'm bi, I think I'm a lesbian, I think I'm gay, and
Yeah.
they're like afraid. Like, what do you think about that? Any ideas?
What
Any
was
thoughts?
the next step?
Like in terms of dating.
Yeah, like one message we had, this person was like, I am bi, but I just like can't, you know, I'm like, and she said that she signed up on these dating apps, and she says she can't, like, she's too scared to like go meet a woman. What do you think about that?
I feel like you can go. I mean, I haven't, but I have a lot of friends who made the concerted effort to date women dating women for the first time this past year, post the not post pandemic, but like as the world started opening up because of the pandemic and all the reflection. And I from what I've heard, I know it's like, I think if you go into it without any expectation, just to see what the experience is of just going on a date without any expectations of where it's going to lead,
Yeah.
I feel like that was like a good way for my friends to like get into it and figure it out.
Yeah. I also am remembering, like, I remembered like when I first went on dates with guys, there was like even a sense of me like, yeah, I'll fuck guys, but like dates with guys, that's gay. Like I was like, I even had like that. I was like, it's even like me and my brother by the way, we're both like the gayest people, you know, but we were like, yeah, I imagine myself like with a girl, but like I'll fuck guys. But it takes time to
Yeah.
really marinate in your brain. Like I want to be romantic with someone of my, with my same, with a girl or a guy, and it takes baby steps. Like the first date might feel like, oh, people are looking at us. I remember I felt that like, oh, people are looking at us. But it takes like more and more dates you do, more people you meet, and more other queer friends you meet, the more you can truly like, yes, I can truly imagine like in being in love, creating a life together, and doing, and that's something that's like a process for everyone.
Yeah, and I think the internalized homophobia thing is a big thing in there. Because I remember the first time I had like, because everyone knows I'm bi. I'm like, I identify as queer. I remember the first time I had like a serious thing with a woman, and it was like this huge shift in my head that I was like, and it was like what you just said, going out and being like, oh, I could like imagine a life with this person. Yeah. This is like a relationship. And it's like, and feeling that shift in my head made me realize that I had so much internalized homophobia. Yeah. And I was like, and then part of me was like what you said, like everyone's looking at me.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I'm gonna get hit.
Hate crimed. Yeah. And then it was literally like we're in like Chelsea or something. You're
at a gay bar. I'm
get out of my way.
At this gay bar.
Don't. I got hate crimes. A white man. I'm just kidding. But then like just feeling that shift in my head made me realize that I had a lot of internalized homophobia. It wasn't even like, and it was like little battling that little person.
Like, go on the dates and do the stuff. Yeah.
And then I had a part where I was like, I'm gay. Like I was like, look at me, get out of my way, I'm gay. I had that like, that sort of like pride.
Okay, you
which is
did
funny.
a musical.
Yes.
I was like, excuse me, no, I'm gay. Excuse me, get out of my way. I had that moment too. It's great. Whatever. Life is.
That's funny.
All right, we're on to our last topic. We're running out of time, which is perfect. Okay. Perfect timing. It's the worst, not the worst, but scariest landminey one, and this is how we get canceled. So,
okay.
We also
brace for impact.
Okay. It's Asian physical features.
Okay.
And so one of them is I really like how this is worded. This is, I think, touchy because again, it's been weaponized against, I think, both people, anybody that's Asian, to be honest, but how it's weaponized against Asian women, I think, is in a way that it almost is a pretend flattery, but even though it's racism, and how it's weaponized against men is just straight up harmful and like painful racism. But the first message we got concerning this says, thanks for all you do. I don't know why I read that part. Sorry. Good job, us. Okay, the question is...
No notes.
Good job. So good. What are the ethics of attraction, especially with respect to race or even beauty, intelligence, or what the other person has to offer? Should we strive to be more fair in who we choose to date and partner with? Affirmative action dating seems cringy. I don't know if I like how that's worded, but so too does only dating narrowly. So I think this kind of touches on like, should we date people even if we don't like have like, even not just attract looking, but like intelligence, like as a whole person that you're not necessarily attracted to even out the playing
field. Not even relating to race, just about like general attraction. Is that what that is? Or more
I think this person is trying to be like, like even out the playing field in all ways. But I think for the sake of this conversation, we should keep it, because the term affirmative action's used, obviously. Yeah. So I think what they meant was like, which also touches on that episode of Invisibilia, because this Asian woman wasn't attracted to Asian men. So she forced herself to go on all these dates with Asian men to like rewire her brain. Yeah. Because she found it problematic that she was only attracted to white people, right? Yeah. So I think this is like along the lines of that. Like, should you sort of make the effort to change your attraction?
This is one of those hard ones again.
I think... also from where I'm coming from a little bit, you're
gonna get so canceled.
I'm like, tread carefully. Be careful.
No, but I am like, I think that I'm like truly not having sex and I'm not doing that, but like when it comes to attraction stuff, I am making like a little bit of an effort to like don't go like master. I'm like I ration my white porn, so it's like every like
Okay.
that's honestly for me, like I'm like try to like limit the amount of I mostly like watch not white porn, but then like I kind of like will like sometimes watch it. But I remember there was a time when it was like most of the porn I watched was that. And it's like I had to make a concerted effort to like, no, it's like, yes, of course. Like I remember a time when I grew up around like gorgeous Asians, and I was like, I always thought Asians were so like, I'm like, yeah, the Asians around me are so hot. And then I moved to New York and I started to feel like less hot because of how I was treated, like either as like seen as like a fetish thing or just flat out not in the cards. We're not like, you're
Right.
not, you're not attractive at all. And then it's like I started to internalize that and like believe it, and then see like go like see that around me, and then I had to like, oh wait, what just happened? I had like start to go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting because you were like almost reflecting how you were being treated, and that like, you know, that like made you like curb your attraction values. I have to say I did something like this where something similar, but in real life.
Yeah.
Where I stopped dating white people, period, for I think it was like 2 years on purpose, because same thing. I was like, if I didn't make the effort,
Yeah.
then the people who were coming to me were only white people.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's something going on here. So I made the effort, and I understand what this person is saying by that sounds cringe, but obviously there's an unfair balance towards white people being somehow, I don't know why, like they're being like showing up more than other people.
Yes.
Right.
So it's almost like I have to like balance it out. And also I think that shows internalized racism on my part, because you know, the fact that just going back to that other podcast that we were talking about, Invisibilia, the woman said, there's a reason I'm getting white guys, because I'm clicking on the white guys.
Yeah.
And that means that's my algorithm. So
Totally.
obviously something's fucked up with me that I don't even understand.
Right.
I'm not even conscious of it.
Yeah.
So I have to correct that. And I also did that. I was like, obviously I'm doing this without knowing it, and I have to correct that to sort of really understand what's going on.
But it sounds like for both of you, you wanted to, you noticed something and you wanted to correct it. Like, I think my opinion is people might be upset because it seems oversimplified or kind of reductive.
Yeah.
And it's that I don't think we technically like don't have to do anything. Like, I don't think it's right to police how other people date. So I think at the end of the day, you should, you know, if you're open to it, you should identify like how your attraction works. Are you hurting someone? If the answer is no, or if it feels like it's coming from a weird place, then I don't think you really like, do you need to correct anything? I think over pathologizing things is just as weird too.
I agree.
Well, sorry, just to say really quick, and then I did that because I thought that was problematic for me, and I didn't want to be that kind of person, and I wanted to explore why I was behaving like that.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think, you know, if you're only matching with white people, that's like fine, and you're okay with that, that's fine.
I know,
if you don't want to,
like how do you feel about that, and how okay are you? And then then like it was just an internal thing with me that I was getting very angry.
Me too.
And
Yeah.
very,
Me
like,
too.
Wait, what? I don't like what I'm getting.
Yes, and then I was
I don't
going
like
on
how
these
this feels.
dates, and I was getting upset because I was like, I don't want to be around these people. They're saying weird things to me, and I got to get out of it. And so that's why.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I think like if you just everyone has to just look at their own patterns and understand what's causing it. We all have internalized racism every day in every interaction, everything we do.
Koreans.
And it's like
Koreans.
Yeah, and only Koreans have it.
We're all Koreans.
We have never
Yeah.
been wrong in history.
Yeah,
Just kidding,
Japanese
I'm
people
sorry.
are very good.
Sorry. Oh my gosh,
Just
cut
kidding.
that out.
I'm not cutting it out.
We're not cutting it out.
We're
I'm
canceled.
gonna turn that into an
Canceled.
Instagram clip
No,
and
we're
then
awful.
tag Jenny and Dylan.
So I think like if you look at your patterns and you kind of understand what's driving these things, like why do you always date white men or whatever it is,
Right.
or why do you always date Asian women? Because that's obviously a fetishization that I see a lot, and I am constantly hyper aware of that for myself. I think you have to look at that, but I also think if you get to a point where you're flipping and then you're like, well, I have to date one person who's this and one person who's that, that's also weird.
Yeah,
because
Yeah.
that's also weirdly almost like fetishization in the other direction. It's not really fixing anything. So
Right.
I don't know. You have to just like determine that on your own.
if you don't have a problem with the fact that you're only dating this kind of person, and it's like it's your
It's up
life.
to you.
Yeah.
No one cares.
It's up to
literally,
you.
know,
Right.
we always people make fun of like Asian people who date white people or whatever, but like if you're okay with that, who cares, dude?
Yeah.
Like we don't care. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all up
Or
to you.
whatever. The last part of this topic that I wanted to read, it's actually somebody wanted us to discuss. The message is kind of long. Somebody wanted us to discuss body dysmorphia as for Asian men, and he just said, again, like obviously the insecurities assigned to Asian men are emasculating with their height and the penis size thing, of course, but he also asked about other, and I think this will relate to all Asians, not just Asian men, the other parts of Asian physical features, such as colorism, like darker pigmentation, scars, issues that Asians have, stretch marks, balding. He also asked bigger face, larger faces, just any like sort of like insecurities that they have about Asian features that again aren't necessarily only Asian, but like just body dysmorphia and how that ties into Asian people, and especially in terms of like dating. What are your thoughts about that?
I mean, from like a very general macro perspective, I feel like I am at the ripe age of 30. Still like trying to feel good about myself. I feel like there's a lot of internalized racism I'm still working through, because I don't know if I talked about this on the episode I was on, but there's one line from my middle school like that I will always remember. I was in 6th grade and someone told me that I'm hot for an Asian girl, and like I will never forget that, which is like, once again, 20 years ago, like that will never leave my head, because I was like, oh, can be attractive, but I will always be below whatever other white people.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a constant struggle. I was actually talking about this with my Asian friends like a month ago about the feel, like, have you ever felt sexy as an Asian person? Like, we all kind of grew up in different Asian cultures, and we're like, because in our cultures, attractiveness is almost like cutesy. Like, you're cute, you're like a little girl. Like purity, especially in like Japan, it's like that's very much like what is attractive. And so I feel like I'm still working on that too. It's like weird kind of things where I'm like, I'm supposed to be petite and little and like naive and innocent is like kind of what I've been ingrained with. So I think, I don't know if that's exactly body dysmorphia, but it is just like values that I've attached to my own body and like physicality and like what I define as beautiful, or have been told to be defined as beautiful. So yeah, that's always on the top of my head. Like,
do any of you have
Yeah,
like,
that's weird.
Yeah.
That's just you.
yeah, that's just
None
a
of
me
us- what?
thing.
She was vulnerable.
I'm just kidding.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
I
Let's
fully-
cancel
I fully-
Brian, everybody.
Cancel Brian.
wow, did everyone get Brian doing that?
Yeah, everyone got Brian doing that.
Cancelled.
I guess along the lines of I feel like,
I'm
Jenny,
just
I feel like so many people that you're hot for an Asian person
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah.
is so like sneakily the most racist thing in the world. That's so racist. And
Yeah.
I know Brian's heard that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Brian, you've gotten that? And it's crazy because Brian is like very like attractive. I'm not hitting it, obviously, you're my friend. Like just like, I mean, I think we're all extremely attractive, but like Brian is like a model-y person, and like white people will say that to Brian, like, oh, you're hot for an Asian guy. I'm like, what, bitch?
I know.
Yeah.
And that's why you just
He's
gotta
a
be a
human.
fuck boy. And
Yeah.
Double down.
Someone
Double
left their
down.
bra. Is this
Yeah.
your bra?
this is
Oh, it's not.
you gotta go full Joker mode and just
Yeah.
become a fuck boy. This is a big F you to society.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess
I'm just kidding.
Bouncing off Jenny, has anyone in here ever felt like obsession about like a body part?
Yeah,
that maybe
when
is
I was
considered
for
Asian?
sure. When I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
I was really insecure about my legs because I'm bow-legged, and so I would try to find like celebrities who were like bow-legged, and I would notice like a lot of Asians are bow-legged, and I was like so hyper obsessed with just my legs and the way I never wore shorts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that you're
Me
bow-legged.
neither.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I remember I was, and it's like even something like my cheeks a little bit, because my Japanese family has like kind of bigger cheeks and stuff, and like I remember in pictures, like I know it's kind of funny, but I'd be like like kind of like I'd like bite my cheeks a little bit in high school, or like just do like stuff like that a little bit when it came to that, because I don't know.
No, I totally get. I had
Yeah.
the same Japanese like flat,
Yes,
round
we have
face.
this- yeah,
where like
my-
sunglasses never fit my face
Same.
or like whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm super. I mean, like I'm just like now kind of working on like why that is.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that's like bothered me for forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember.
And I just want to say that a thing that's helped me is as I've gotten older, I've sort of realized how much advertising and just popular media in general like influenced these insecurities of mine. Because anything
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see, it's just hyper. Like it's a hyper, most exaggerated version of that thing. So I identify with you, Jenny, where there are moments it's just sex in general. I'm like, am I sexy? This feels weird. This feels
Yeah.
unnatural. And this comes up a lot on this podcast, where it's like become like a recurring joke where, I say I'm like really bad in bed, or like I suck at sex. But then after talking to people vulnerably in the context of this podcast too, maybe that's just like normal. Like across the
thinks
board,
that.
everyone thinks that. Everyone doesn't feel sexy all the time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, I don't know.
Yeah.
What if you're just amazing at sex?
No.
Sorry, fans. I was trying for
Sorry,
you.
y'all.
I know that's the content you wanted.
I was,
We were
they
all
definitely-
trying.
we were all
We're
trying.
all
for you.
trying.
For
We're all
your
trying.
fantasy.
For
but-
your
I was-
fantasy, but
yeah.
I
Brian
try
shut
my
it down.
best, but
I think so. I was really self-conscious about my eyes because I feel like I feel like I have like really small eyes. And I remember when I was in high school. I mean, I know that all Asian people are self-conscious because like we were like made fun of about our eyes all the time.
yeah.
I remember in high school, this fuckboy AJ. I can say his name. He's probably
Yeah, fuck AJ.
He's
Yeah.
been 40
AJ.
years.
Wait, what's
He
his
was
last name?
Original fuckboy. Or OJ.
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 China,
was OJ.
the fuck
Oh, the
boy,
OG
and then,
fuckboy that I had a crush
And
on.
that he'll end your life.
He said, "Oh, you have like really pretty eyes," and I was like, "No way." And then I was like, I do have pretty eyes. Like I should have believed
Yeah.
AJ.
Yeah.
And then he fucked fucking Claudia in the bathroom. Don't think I forget.
Wow.
I didn't forget.
Bam.
I never had a chance with him. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, I was really self-conscious about my eyes. That's the story that I wanted to tell. Yeah.
Same.
And then now I'm like, what the hell was I talking?
I
Well,
know.
why was I feeling like that?
But is there like a specific thing or action or prescribed practice that helped you overcome this?
I don't know. I think, and also, I'm going to be honest. I know that this is just like most people when they're teenagers.
Yeah.
They're self-conscious,
Yeah.
whether you're Asian or not.
Yeah.
No, but even now, the scarring thing, because the person included in that message about the dark scarring,
Yeah.
like I get dark scars. And even now, there's part of me when I see like a dark scar, I'm like, fuck, why do I have to be Asian? Like some weird like thought like that goes in my
Yeah.
head. But yeah, I don't know what I did to I guess just growing up and like accepting who I am.
Yeah.
I feel like when you start, for me, it was like realizing how much of it was programmed by like the things that we see and white supremacy. To be honest, like
Yeah.
even beauty standards in Japan, which is like the culture I grew up with, I'm like, oh, it's so driven by European beauty standards. Everything is driven by like white beauty standards. And I think the more that I like grew up and like made a more diverse group of friends and like people who just own their bodies, I was like, oh, this is all not real. It's like
Right.
we made it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
People make it up.
They made it
all made
up.
it up.
It's
And then,
all made up.
yeah. And when you're a
Right.
kid, you don't know it's made up because
Yeah.
it's adults telling you
Exactly.
it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I do think like, even though like to each his own, but like to me making the conscious effort to like cut off the pink dick and like be like refine like
What?
how I know
The pink dick.
the pink
The
dick
big dick.
And
Cut out. I thought you said cut off the pink dick. I was like, is that like a saying that I don't know?
Oh, it's not like a Jewish thing or like
Wait. Wait, just to rehash this, you said cut out the pink
Yeah,
dick.
cut out
Yeah.
the
Cut
pink
out. I
dick.
thought you said cut off the pink
Cut
dick.
off? No, I don't know.
No, don't
and
do
then
that.
the color pink.
And then the
dick.
color, yes,
Okay,
yes,
gotcha.
yes.
I get it now.
But
We got there.
yeah, to make a concerted effort, because as a kid, like I grew up around like Asians who I thought were very hot, and like to rediscover that and find that in like my own like thing, it's like, oh yeah, of course, like Asians are fucking sexy.
Sexy. Does everyone in here, do you think that you are attractive? I'm going to leave us at that. Do you think you're attractive?
Yes.
I think that I'm getting more attractive, and I always say this, I'm going to be so hot in my mid-40s. Like,
Let's
like seriously, I'm going to be
go.
so hot.
Let's go.
Yes. Me too. I just want to say, I think everyone in here is extremely attractive, and I
agree.
just want to say
I
that.
agree with that.
I agree.
I agree with that.
And I just want to say, let's hype ourselves up.
Yeah.
Because you know what? The media is not going to.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go be sluts.
Let's go be sluts
Yeah.
and fuck boys. Okay, this is our advice that we leave you on. Be sluts, be fuck boys. Don't text back. Don't.
Oh, we're all going to become terrible people.
Yay, we solved
Yeah.
racism.
We're going to
And
be
be mean to
awful.
Italians.
That's right. And Dylan Palladini, you better fucking defend me. Or
You know
it's
what?
over
The
between
Italians are so hot.
Oh, yeah.
They're not hurt by us saying that.
Yeah.
Koreans are Italian.
Koreans are Italian. Well, I guess before we leave, we'd like to ask everyone what they're proud of. Maybe you can just go around the circle and say it real fast because we're running out of time. What are you proud of, Jenny?
I'm proud that I was vulnerable about dating because I'm generally afraid of it. And I'm proud that I said I'm hot.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Dylan.
I'm proud that I said I'm hot, because then I'm afraid, like, oh, is he? Like, what a cocky little, but it's like, no, it's like, yeah, today I do feel.
Yeah.
Yes. Brian,
I'm proud that I have wonderful Asian friends like y'all, because my younger self would be, wouldn't envision myself to be where I am today. Because I used to have a lot of internalized racism and like not want to hang out with other Asians. So yeah.
Yay. Look at you. I'm proud that, kind of similar to what Brian said, I'm proud that, doing this episode, I realized that I do come from this like most of us, there's like all these problematic things that I learned and then unlearned as an adult, and I'm proud that I've done the work, and I'm gonna continue to do that work.
Yeah.
Yay.
Could I say one more thing?
Yes.
I'm proud that I feel like I manifested a very beautiful, nice Asian community that I love.
Oh my God.
That's
Yeah,
like-
100%.
I
And
feel like I manifested
and can I
it
say
a
that
little
something that I'm
bit.
proud of for you guys?
What?
I think you have built an incredible
You-
place
yeah,
and
no,
platform
I
for these
agree.
conversations. I'm
This is-
serious.
Feeling Asian is truly like my favorite. I
Yes.
only listen to Feeling Asian, Asian-Eyed Asian, and Super Soul Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm not even
Wow.
kidding.
I
Wow.
secretly promoted you guys in a newsletter. I didn't even tell you till right now on
Yeah.
air
Wow.
because I literally love this podcast.
Yeah,
and
same.
it's like
truly.
my lifeline.
It's like
Aw,
my favorite.
Oh.
So yeah.
That's so nice because me and Brian we just talked about how we fucking hate each other and we're not. We're like, fuck this. This is stupid. I'm just kidding. That's a joke.
No.
Yeah.
Jenny and Dylan, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, your vulnerability on this episode. And for our wonderful listeners, where can they find you?
You can find me anywhere at Jenny Arimoto, my full name. Yeah, that's it.
Yes. You can find me on Instagram at Dylan Adler _, on Twitter at Dylan Adler 6, and on TikTok at Dylan Adler 7.
Incredible.
I hopped on late to that.
Nice. Brian, how about you?
You guys can find me on socials at It's Brian Park. And what about Young Me?
YM Mayor and then Young Me Mayor on TikTok. Follow Feeling Asian podcast on TikTok, Instagram. We have a YouTube channel and patreon.com/feelingasian. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.